And this one is called Jenny's Antique. And here's a little quote. It says, "Grandmas are just antique little girls." Okay, let's begin. It says, "My 6-year-old granddaughter stares at me as if she's seeing me for the first time. Grandma, you are an antique," she says. "You are old. Antiques are old." Not satisfied to let the matter rest, I take out Webster Dictionary and read the definition. An antique is not only just old, it's an object existing since or belonging to earlier times, a work of art, a piece of furniture. Antiques are treasured, I tell Jenny as I put away the dictionary. They have to be handled carefully because they sometimes are very valuable. In order to qualify as an antique, the object has to be at least 100 years old. I'm only 67, I reminded her. We look around the house for real antiques. There's a bureau that was handed down from one aunt to another, and finally to our family. It's very old, I tell Jenny. I try to keep it polished, and I show it off whenever I can. You do that with antiques? When Jenny gets older and understands such things, I might also tell her that whenever I look at the bureau or touch it, I'm reminded of the aunt so dear to me who gave me the bureau as a gift. I see her face again. Though she is no longer with us, I even hear her voice and recall her smile. I remember myself as a little girl leaning against this antique, listening to one of her stories. Our tour of antique continues. There's a vase on the floor that's been in my house a long time. I'm not certain where it came from, but I didn't buy it new. And then there's the four-poster bed sent to me 40 years ago by an uncle who slept in it for 50 years. One thing about antiques, I explained to Jenny, is that they usually have a story. They've been in one home and then another, handed down from the family to another, traveling all over the place. They've lasted through years and years. They could have been tossed away or ignored or destroyed or lost, but instead they survived. I point to a picture on the wall purchased at a garage sale. It is dated 1867. Now that's an antique, I boast. Over 100 years old. Of course, it is marked up and scratched and not in a very good condition. Sometimes age does that, I tell Jenny. But the marks are good marks. They show living, being around. That's something to display with pride. In fact, sometimes the more an object shows age, the more valuable it can become. For a moment, Jenny looks thoughtful. You are my antique, she says. Then her face brightens. Could I take you to school for show and tell? Jenny's antique lifts her up and embraces her in a hug that will last through the years. Harriet May Sabbats. That's a beautiful story. It reminds me of my grandmother. I don't know, some of you might be grandparents now. I am a grandmother. I said it in the other book club that we had 2 weeks ago. And I have 2 grandchildren. But as a grandmother, I remember, actually as a child, I remember my grandmother. And she was the best grandmother I've ever had. I could have. I mean, I've had 2 grandmothers, but I've only met one, which is my mother's mother. My father's mother, I didn't get to meet her. So she was a wonderful grandmother, and I have very fond thoughts of her. And when I grew up to be a woman, and I used to say, if I have kids and I have grandkids, that is the grandmother I want to be like my own grandmother. And to this day, I just adore my grandchildren. And I hope that most of you out there are great grandparents as well. Not great great grandparents. I'm just saying great grandparents. Well, actually, my father, he's a great grandfather. And my mother as well, great grandmother. Her grandkids have kids already. So I can't even imagine when I'm a great grandmother. Well, I hope to make it that far. So I hope that you enjoyed the story, and this will be the book for this month. So for the month of February, I will probably have something new. I will see you next book club. Bye-bye.